Welcome back, everyone, to Technological Frontiers, one breakthrough at a time. Today, we're diving into a fascinating topic.
Oh, yeah.
Game changer. Google's Embodied AI Journey Through Virtual World as Sandboxes.
Catchy title.
It is, and the author is someone we've actually talked about before on the show, Hemant Jual.
Yeah, I remember him.
A real interesting technologist who likes to, keep tabs on the latest developments in tech. So
Definitely worth a read.
it is. If you want to learn more after our deep dive, be sure to check out the full article.
Sounds good.
So embodied AI.
Okay.
Maybe we can start by sort of explaining what that is, because it's a little different than maybe what people typically think of.
Right, yeah, so when you say AI, a lot of people think like, data crunching algorithms.
Yeah, or like chatbots.
Yeah, exactly. But embodied AI, it's about, AI that can interact with its environment, like
Ooh, yeah.
physically.
So like a robot.
Kind of, yeah. Or like, think of a video game character. They have
Yeah.
to, move around, make decisions based on what's happening around them.
I see. So it's like less like a calculator and more.
More like a character in a virtual world, yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. And I guess that's where the whole video game thing comes in.
Exactly. Hemant Joyal, in his article, he uses video games as a way to explain how this embodied AI is being developed and tested.
Oh, that's interesting because, I love video games, but I never really thought of them as like...
Training grounds for AI.
Yeah.
Right. But it makes sense when you think about it. These games, they're incredibly complex. They require all sorts of skills.
Like what kind of skills were we talking about?
Well, you've got spatial awareness, understanding where you are in the environment. Then there's resource management.
Oh, right. Like in strategy games where you have
Yeah.
to collect and use resources wisely.
Exactly. And then there's strategic planning, decision-making, problem-solving.
And don't forget about the social interaction in multiplayer games.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You have to cooperate or compete with other players.
So all of these skills that we as humans, develop through playing video games, they're also essential for embodied AI.
Precisely because if you want an AI to be able to, navigate the real world, it needs to be able to do all of those things.
So it's like they're taking these virtual worlds and using them as a way to...
Teach AI how to be in the real world.
That's pretty cool.
It is. And
Yeah.
Google, they're at the forefront of this research with their SIMA project.
SIMA,
Yeah, it stands for Scalable, Instructable, Multi-World Agent.
multi-world agent.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty ambitious.
Oh, it is. It's their attempt to create an embodied AI agent that can basically do anything a human can do in a simulated 3D environment.
Wow, so like anything.
No, in theory, yeah.
That's pretty mind-blowing.
It is, and they're training SIMA using both commercial video games, like, the ones you and I might play,
Oh, wow.
and also specialized research environments that they've created specifically for this purpose.
So they're really throwing everything at it, huh?
They are, because the goal is to really push the boundaries of AI research and develop agents that can interact seamlessly with the world.
So they're not just trying to create like a really good video game AI.
No, they're trying to create an AI that can understand and interact with the world in a way that's...
More human-like.
Exactly.
So, okay, they've got this AI learning in these virtual worlds, but how do they actually know if it's making progress? Like, how do they measure its success?
Well, that's a good question. And Hemant Jewel, he highlights 3 key areas of evaluation in his article.
Okay, let's hear them.
All right, so the first one is environment success rate.
Environment success rate, what's that?
It basically measures how well SIMA performs in different virtual worlds.
Okay, so like, is it able to complete tasks? Is it able to...
Yeah, exactly. Is it able to navigate the environment without getting stuck? Is it able to achieve its goals?
I see.
And what they've found is that SIMA does really well in the simpler research environments.
Oh, that makes sense. Those are probably designed to be more controlled.
Right, but when you put SIMA into a complex open-world game like No Man's Sky...
Oh, No Man's Sky? That game is massive.
It's notoriously vast and complex with a procedurally generated universe.
So it's like throwing SIMA into the deep end.
Exactly, and in those cases, the success rate is lower, but that's to be expected.
Yeah, No Man's Sky is a challenge even for experienced human players.
Right, but the fact that SIMA can even function in that kind of environment is pretty impressive.
So even though it's not perfect, it's still showing progress.
Definitely. And that brings us to the second area of evaluation, skill category success rate.
Skill category success rate.
Right.
Okay, what's that all about?
So this one focuses on how well SIMA performs specific tasks within these environments.
So it's like breaking down the overall performance into smaller chunks.
Exactly. And what's fascinating is that even seemingly simple actions like, looking around or picking up an object.
Yeah, those seem pretty basic.
They do, but for AI, it's actually incredibly complex.
Oh, really? Why is that?
Well, think about it. When you pick up an object, you're using your vision to locate it. You're using your motor skills to reach out and grasp it. You're using your sense of touch to adjust your grip.
Wow, yeah, when you break it down like that, it's
Yeah.
pretty complicated.
It is. And for AI to do all of that in a dynamic, ever-changing environment like a video game, it's a huge challenge.
So it's not just about programming the AI to do these actions. It's about teaching it to...
Understand the context and adapt to different situations.
I see. So it's like they're trying to replicate the way that humans learn and interact with the world.
Exactly. That's the ultimate goal.
Okay, so we've got environment success rate and skill category success rate. What's the third one?
The third one is human comparison.
Human comparison. Okay, so they're comparing SIMA to...
To actual human players.
Oh, that's interesting. How do they do that?
Well, in the article, Hemant Jewel specifically mentions how Google compared SIMA's performance in No Man's Sky to that of expert human players.
Wow, so they got some hardcore gamers in there.
They did, and they wanted to see how SIMA stacked up against the best of the best.
Okay, so drum roll, please. How did SIMA do?
Well, it achieved a 34% success rate.
34% against expert human players.
Yep.
That's actually pretty impressive considering how complex No Man's Sky is.
It is, especially when you consider that the expert human players only achieved a 60% success rate.
Oh, wow. So SIMA is not that far behind.
Right, so while there's still a gap, SIMA is clearly demonstrating significant progress.
Yeah, 34% is definitely nothing to sneeze at. That's pretty amazing.
It is, and it really highlights the potential of using video games as training grounds for AI.
So what you're saying is that by playing video games, AI can actually learn valuable skills that could be applied to the real world.
Exactly, and that's what we're going to explore in more detail in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay, so stay tuned because we're about to get into the real-world applications of this incredible technology.
It's going to be fascinating.
I can't wait.
Okay, so last time we were talking about SIMA and how well it's doing.
Yeah, Google's embodied AI that's learning by playing video games.
Right, and it's showing some real promise. Like you said, 34% success rate in No Man's Sky. Not bad.
Not bad at all. But what about the real world, though? That's what I'm really curious about.
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? Like, what's the point of all this virtual world training?
Exactly. Can this actually translate into something useful in our world?
Well, that's what Joel gets into in the article. He talks about the potential applications, and they're pretty exciting.
Okay, so spill the beans. What kind of real-world stuff are we talking about here?
Well, one area where embodied AI could really make a difference is robotics.
Robotics? Okay, I can see
Yeah.
that. I mean, robots are already used in a lot of industries.
They are, but right now most robots are kind of limited. They can only operate in very specific controlled environments.
Like factories and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. But with embodied AI, we could have robots that can navigate much more complex and unpredictable environments.
Oh, so instead of just doing pre-programmed tasks, they could actually adapt to changing situations.
Precisely. They could learn and make decisions on the fly, just like SIMA does in those video games.
Wow, so what kind of real-world applications could we see for these more adaptable robots?
Well, think about disaster relief efforts, for example.
Okay, yeah, so robots could go into dangerous areas that are too risky for humans.
Exactly. They could search for survivors, assess damage, things like that.
That would be a huge help in those kinds of situations.
It would. And what about exploring extreme environments like the depths of the ocean or even other planets?
Oh, wow. Yeah, that would be incredible, sending robots to places that are just too hostile for us.
Right. So the possibilities in robotics are pretty vast.
It's amazing to think that we might one day have robots that can function almost as well as humans in all sorts of different environments.
It is, and it's not just about physical tasks.
Mhm.
Either embodied AI has the potential to revolutionize the digital world as well.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, imagine virtual assistants that are much more sophisticated than what we have now.
Okay, I'm listening.
So instead of just responding to voice commands, these assistants could actually interact with digital environments on your behalf.
Oh, so like they could actually do things for you online?
Exactly. They could be like digital extensions of yourself.
That's an interesting concept.
It is. So, for example, instead of just asking Siri to set a reminder, you could have an AI assistant that manages your entire calendar.
Wow. So it would schedule appointments, send out invitations, reschedule things if needed.
Exactly. It could even coordinate with other AI assistants to get things done.
That'd be amazing.
Ah.
I mean, I could really use an assistant like that.
And think about online shopping. Instead of having to browse through endless websites and filters, your AI assistant could learn your preferences and style.
Okay, and then I would go out and find the perfect clothes for me or whatever I'm looking for.
Precisely, it would navigate those digital marketplaces and do the shopping for you.
So it's like taking personalization and efficiency to a whole new level.
Exactly. It would revolutionize the way we interact with technology.
It's mind-blowing to think about all the possibilities.
It is, and Hamantial, he doesn't go into too much specific detail in the article, but he does emphasize that the applications of embodied AI are vast and still unfolding.
So we're really just scratching the
Yeah.
surface here.
Yeah, we are. But of course, with all this potential comes some potential risks as well.
Oh, yeah, I was just thinking about that. It's like every sci-fi movie I've ever seen.
Right, the whole AI taking over the world scenario.
Exactly. How do we make sure that this technology is used for good and that we don't end up creating something that we can't control?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it's something that researchers and policymakers are grappling with right now.
So what can we do? I mean, is there any way to ensure that embodied AI is developed responsibly?
Well, the key is to prioritize ethical considerations from the very beginning.
Okay, so it's not just about the technology itself. It's about how we develop and deploy it.
Exactly. We need to build safeguards into these systems and establish clear guidelines for their use.
I see. So it's like we need to be thinking about the potential consequences before we just unleash this technology on the world.
Right, and that's where ongoing dialogue and public engagement are so important.
Yeah, we need to have these conversations now so that we can shape the future of embodied AI in a positive way.
Exactly. It's not just up to the tech companies. It's up to all of us to make sure that this technology benefits humanity.
Well said. I think that's a really important point to keep in mind as we continue to explore this fascinating but also somewhat unsettling field.
Definitely. And in the next part of our deep dive, we're going to delve even deeper into the ethical considerations surrounding embodied AI.
Oh, it's getting good. I can't wait. Embodied AI. It's a lot to take in, huh?
It really is so much potential, but like we were saying, some risks too.
Yeah, it's like this amazing tool, but we got to figure out how to use it responsibly.
Exactly like with any powerful technology, I guess.
It makes you think of all those sci-fi movies, where the robots take over.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But I think the key is to remember that we're in control.
We are.
Yeah,
We
I mean,
are.
we're the ones developing this technology. We're the ones setting the guidelines.
I see. So it's not just about the technology itself. It's about the choices we make.
Right, and that's something Hemant Jewel really emphasizes in the article.
Oh, yeah. What does he say about it?
Well, he talks about the importance of staying informed, like really understanding what this technology is all about.
So it's like we can't just sit back and let things happen.
Exactly. We need to be actively involved in shaping the future of AI.
But where do we even start? I mean, this stuff can get pretty technical.
It can, but there are a lot of resources out there for non-experts too.
Like what kind of resources?
Well, there are books, articles, podcasts, even online communities where people are discussing these issues.
So basically, there's something for everyone, no matter what their background is.
Exactly. The important thing is to just be curious, ask questions and learn as much as you can.
I like that. Be curious. Okay, so we've talked about the potential of embodied AI.
Right.
Talked about the risks.
Right.
But what's the big takeaway here? What do we want our listeners to remember?
Well, I think the main message is that embodied AI is a powerful force that has the potential to transform our world.
Okay.
But it's up to us to ensure that it's used for good.
Right. We need to be thoughtful and responsible in how we develop and deploy this technology.
Exactly. And we need to have those tough conversations about the ethical implications.
So it's not just about the technology itself. It's about the values that guide its development.
Right. And it's about ensuring that everyone benefits from these advancements, not just a select few.
Well said. That's a perfect note to end on. So to wrap up our deep dive into embodied AI, we'd like to leave you with this thought. If AI can learn to navigate complex virtual worlds, what are the implications for its role in our real world? What tasks or challenges could these agents tackle in the future? It's a question worth pondering, and we encourage you to continue exploring this fascinating field. Thanks for joining us, and remember, the future is in our hands. Let's shape it wisely.